Hi again. Many thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. So this is the second big hike I did whilst I was in Morocco, down in the Anti-Atlas Mountains in the southwest of the country. So this hike was really quite remote, awesome and totally isolated. As I mentioned last week, very different from anything I've done before, and almost the solitude and isolation for where I was quite intimidating, to say the least, but exciting and awe-inspiring. So the trailhead started in a little oasis settlement down in a place called Ait Mansour. I think I've said that right. It's about an hour and a half from Tafraout, so almost down towards the border between the Western Sahara and Algeria, which was quite a spectacular place to be. The car drive down from Tafraout to Ait Mansour was interesting. Didn't see many cars, but some quite devastatingly scary mountain roads with canyons, drop-offs and 1,000-foot drops. Sort of road that you'd see in a YouTube video about the 10 most dangerous roads in the world. So although quite nerve jangling, the roads were essentially deserted, so made it easier, especially for the worry about how two cars are going to pass at the same time. So Ait Mansour, the trailhead, is within the Mansour Gorge or canyon, and as I said, it's almost this ribbon of oasis land surrounded by these hulking, great big, vast canyons, almost lunar-esque or moon-like. Very much reminded me of pictures of something like Arizona or Utah, not that I've been there before. I think for me, planning the walk was really critical, and although I spent time thinking about conditions and probabilities, I don't think I spent enough time preparing. I really underestimated the amount of fluid that would be required. I banked for one overnight hike. I'd need about 6 litres of fluid, but I did run out the next day, but it wasn't a problem because I was dropping down the mountain back to base camp. The conditions were hot, 30-35 degrees, but a real wind coming off the gorge, so it didn't really feel hot or uncomfortable most of the time, and very pleasant. I think even though the loop was 20 miles with about 2,000 foot of climbing, the conditions were a total game changer, so I think that really needs to be taken into account in future planning in this part of the world. I definitely say it's one of the most remote or isolated hikes I've done. The whole 2 days I didn't see a single soul on the mountain, which was interesting, intimidating, awesome, but if you're after solitude, it's certainly the place to go. The actual paths aren't amazingly signposted, but to be honest, everything is very logical. I think if you've got a good map, or you've got something like Outdoor Active or All Trails, you'll be fine. Again, mobile phone reception here is strangely excellent, even in the most secluded or remote parts of the mountain. At the end of the first day, I reached the rim of the southwest summits of the gorge and found myself a really great campsite with this amazing view of the Western Sahara to the south, and then to the southeast, Algeria, and as far as the eye can see, just ribbons and little curtain-like features of sand dunes on the horizon. The mountain I camped on was called Bujana Col, and actually my original pitch turned into a bit of a farce with the wind and the hoolie that had blown up. So I quickly decamped, as you saw, and moved down the mountain into a more leeward area, which I should have done before, but my spot certainly rewarded me with a great sunset over the Western Sahara, which is emblazoned in my heart for the rest of my life. Luckily, the sky was very clear, the stars were out and the moon was set, so perfect conditions for astrophotography, and used the 14mm prime Sony lens, which is exquisite, and got some really great shots. My foreground shots needed a bit of work, but I think the Milky Way shots were fantastic. I had a really amazing sleep in the mountains and not disturbed by the wind, which was great. I think I can't underpin or overestimate the level of remoteness and solitude that you'd get in this part of the world. I think you've got to be really, really careful about your preparation, because there's really no such thing as mountain rescue or services, and I think you're very much on your own. So I think planning is critical. I think when something goes wrong, it could go quite badly wrong. I think so. Really factor that in. But as I said, reassuringly, mobile phone coverage is pretty good here in this part of the world. But tip: do get a SIM card at the airport. Don't use your domestic supplier for roaming. It's horribly expensive. Anyway, I really hope you enjoyed the video and it was inspiring and relaxing, mindful, and all of the above. If this is something you like watching, please keep watching. As I said, there's more exciting trails coming out on the horizon. But thank you for watching and take care. So the walk starts in the southeast of Morocco, almost down near the border of Western Sahara and Algeria. Coming down from Tafraout, which is round about here. It's an hour's drive down to the Ait Mansour Gorge and canyon area. The walk starts in Ait Mansour and essentially follows the gorge road all the way through this lush oasis type area. So you go through this place called Lysil, through the Ait Mansour Valley, and this is where I started climbing onto another route, but quickly realised the trail wasn't great, so I double back. And if you flip it onto 3D, this follows all the way. This is probably about 5 to 8k, and then once you hit through, I think it's pronounced Godort, about here, you start with the mountain ascent, which is many switchbacks up through the trail, and it's about 800 to 1,000 meters of climbing, and you hit the southeastern rim of the mountain range. This is all gorge country and a fantastic canyon. Once you head up here, you start coming through to the summits of the mountain range, and you hit this summit here, which is called Bujana, and Bujana is where I camped on my first night, and then headed back the next day. The trail is very, very good indeed. Once you hit here, this opens up a fantastic vista, which is this way, of essentially the Western Sahara. This is my camp spot, and this is the view, which is straight down towards the Western Sahara border.